Watch how Sadiq found himself cornered during one of the toughest mayor's question time sessions in recent months. What began as questions about policing and technology quickly escalated into a fierce confrontation over transparency, public spending, and accusations of misinformation. As assembly members piled on the pressure, the mayor was forced to defend controversial decisions that critics say could have serious consequences for frontline policing and public trust. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to MY channel for more explosive political coverage. Now let's watch this clip.
Hi. Can I talk to you about the pilot scheme, because that from Palantir, because that seems to be separate. Is that going to continue?
Chair, I'm not in a position to discuss either the pilot scheme or the scientific contract for reasons I hope you'll appreciate. There is a procurement process in relation to IT contracts and contracts generally. One of the things that MOPAC is discussing with the Met Police Service and indeed the supplier is whether correct processes were followed.
I don't really understand that, because the pilot scheme has gone ahead and that has brought up incredible results, as you well know. If you're looking at results very, very quickly, and of course the pilot scheme was brought in so that 500 members of staff could be lost because the AI could do their work for them. Now it would appear that 500 members of frontline staff will have to be lost if this doesn't go ahead. But the pilot scheme has started and is going on. So I just want to know if you're at least going to finish that part of the process.
Chair, can I speak in general terms for reasons I hope the Assembly will recognise? Pilot schemes in general are a pilot, and what happens normally is there's then a procurement process which are followed. So as and when any pilot comes to an end, you'd expect there to be a procurement process.
So you can confirm that the pilot scheme will carry on until that is finished?
Chair, in general terms, pilot schemes carry on until the pilot is concluded, and then there's normally a procurement process.
Okay. Did you know when you made the decision that you weren't going to be using that particular company, that there would be another round of very tough choices? Because we've just been through a round of very, very tough choices with the Metropolitan Police that not one of us is happy about. Clearly, another round is going to go ahead. Did you think about that before decisions were made?
Chair, regardless of the UOA decision, the Met Police Service was always planning to have to go through another round of difficult choices. One of the things that we know is because of the cumulative impact of cuts over a number of years, those tough choices would go to not just 26, 27, but 27, 28 as well. And they were discussed indeed during the budget process before Christmas.
I watched the policing board yesterday, Mr. Mayor, and the Met were very clear there that they are that rolling out AI and technology across the organisation, but it is clear that the decision will limit how much it's used across the full range of criminal intelligence work. So, in effect, are you comfortable that the Met will use technology for HR, but have to solve crimes with pens and paper?
Well, the Met Police Service already uses technology in a whole host of areas. One of the things I'm incredibly proud of is how we've rolled out, in a proportionate way, live facial recognition, which also uses artificial intelligence. And there are a number of other crime fighting as well as administrative matters which AI is used not just in the police service, the fire service and TfL as well. And we are in favour of technology being used. In fact, we've been challenged in the courts by those who are unhappy with us using this technology. So I'm very comfortable with technology being used, but correct processes have to be followed for obvious reasons.
Yeah, the Commissioner is rightfully furious. You can tell that by the letter or his statement from yesterday. You ask him to do a job properly, then you tie his hands behind his back. And now he can't do anything about that. Tell me, do you have confidence in the Commissioner?
I do have confidence in the Commissioner, but the Assembly will be aware there's been a history of public sector IT contracts going tens of £millions over budget. This is waste. That could be used for frontline services, which is why we have strict procurement processes in place. And indeed, during the budget process at the last plenary session, the Commissioner was rightly challenged about the wastage of tens of millions of pounds in IT contracts.
Mr. Mayor, the Labour government proved yesterday that they can't keep us safe as a country. You are clearly not going to be able to keep us safe in London, because we're going to be losing hundreds and, well, over 1,000 more police officers. Putting this contract in place could have saved us frontline officers. I'm going to have to leave it there, Chair, but like your Commissioner, I am absolutely furious about this, as indeed Londoners should be.
Mr Mayor, I know, of course, that you cannot go into any detail about the issue with Palantir, but on a broader level, could you talk about why following a correct procurement process is so important to best value for Londoners, please?
Well, Chair, there have been a number of examples where members of the Assembly rightly have challenged the Met Police Service in relation to procurement in the past, in relation to, in fact, IT contracts. But generally speaking, the public sector, when it comes to the awarding of contracts, has to follow correct processes. And I can speak from experience. In other areas where there have been processes that have been followed, we've still been challenged in the courts. We've won those legal challenges, but it's really important to follow correct processes. And I'll give a hypothetical in terms of if you are a supplier that feels the process wasn't correct and you could have bid for the contract, you will not unreasonably think you've got a legitimate grievance. And that's why it's incredibly important for not just processes to be followed, but processes to be seen to be followed as well. I'm speaking in general terms. It's really important I caveat what I've said in case that's used in some way in any legal proceedings.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Assembly Member Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. So back briefly, if I may, on to the Palantir contract. You mentioned there's a lot of comments from lobbyists. I'm not particularly interested in the comments from the lobbyists. What I am interested in is the comments from the Commissioner, who I think we can call him all sorts of things, but I don't think anyone's ever called him a lobbyist. And certainly the comments that he made yesterday were very robust in indicating that this decision will now have a significant impact on policing, frontline policing, and the ability to keep Londoners safe. So we've just been through a kind of lengthy and complex budget process, which is always very challenging. If the assurances that have been made during that process were predicated on the potential for making these savings, does that whole process now not just look like a complete and utter farce?
Well, again, I think we're in danger of trespassing into what would have been a contract with a supplier. So, got to be quite careful. I mean, I'm not going to go over the words of the Commissioner yesterday. Suffice to say that we already had in plan, and it was discussed at the budgeting process before Christmas and after Christmas, the challenges in terms of Met Police budget 26-27 and indeed 27-28.
Are we done? Okay. We now move on to the questions on the priority order paper. Each group is allocated an amount of time to ask their questions that is proportionate to their size. The first question is titled Decision Making from Assembly Member Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Can I thank the member for her question? It's decisions I've taken since becoming Mayor over the last 10 years that have helped us make huge strides in building a fairer, safer and greener London for everyone. I'm proud that we've now provided more than 120 million free school meals to state primary school pupils. It's noteworthy that some Assembly members made the decision to oppose this policy, which is ensuring children are now receiving a healthy, nutritious meal every day and saving parents around £500 per child per year. Last year, London reached the lowest homicide rate in recorded history per capita. 2025 also saw the fewest number of homicides of victims aged under 25 in London this century, and the fewest teenage homicides in almost 3 decades. This is hugely encouraging and proof that the decision I made for a public health approach to tackling violent crime and to be tough on crime and the causes of crime was the right one. Of course, one homicide will always be one too many, but these impressive results.
This wasn't simply another debate about City Hall spending. Assembly members repeatedly questioned the mayor over the decision to halt a major technology contract connected to policing, arguing that the move could affect efficiency, increase costs, and ultimately reduce the number of frontline officers available to protect Londoners. Throughout the exchange, Sadiq Khan insisted he could not discuss the details of the specific contract because of an ongoing procurement process. Instead, he repeatedly argued that public contracts must follow proper legal procedures and that transparency in procurement protects taxpayers from costly legal disputes in the future. But his critics weren't convinced. Several Assembly members argued that the technology pilot had already demonstrated positive results and questioned why the project appeared to be changing direction. They suggested the decision could make it harder for the Metropolitan Police to modernize its operations at a time when budgets are already under enormous pressure. One member went as far as saying Londoners should be furious if the decision resulted in fewer police officers on the streets. The mayor rejected those claims. Khan maintained that he fully supports the use of artificial intelligence and modern technology within policing. He pointed to existing tools, including live facial recognition and other digital systems already being used across London's public services, arguing that innovation remains a priority, but only where procurement rules are properly followed. Politically, this hearing highlighted something much bigger than a single contract. For the opposition, the issue became one of leadership and accountability. They argued that Londoners deserve clear answers whenever decisions could affect crime prevention, police numbers, or the use of taxpayers' money. For the mayor, however, the focus remained on protecting the integrity of procurement processes and avoiding decisions that could expose public bodies to expensive legal challenges later. This debate also reflects a wider political reality. Across Britain, voters are increasingly demanding evidence rather than promises. Whether the issue is policing, housing, transport, or public spending, politicians are finding it harder than ever to rely on broad claims without being challenged on the details. That is exactly why exchanges like this receive so much attention. They're not just arguments between politicians, they're public tests of credibility. Whether you believe the mayor provided reasonable explanations or think his critics exposed serious weaknesses is ultimately for you to decide. What do you think? Did Sadiq Khan answer the questions convincingly? Or did Assembly members expose concerns that City Hall still hasn't addressed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy detailed analysis of Britain's biggest political debates, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, and join us for the next major political showdown.